It must be a special day here on the Gary Ayd Show. Max has joined us, the superintendent of the studio.
Oh,
Toby's just the manager. He's Max's deputy. Now we got the superintendent. So it must be an important day. Welcome to the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com, and the Cave Talk Radio app. It's great to have you aboard, Gary Ayd and Rich Anselmo. We got a lot of stuff to get to. It's a football Monday, and I'll tell you what, Rich, this was a checkered weekend as far as the quality of the games. Now, Kansas City, Jacksonville, I want to start there. Well, we'll get to the breakdown. Let me do my opening rant. Here's what I'm going to say today for the rant. I am so sick. Like, I used to hate Cowboy fans. Now I hate Cowboy haters more than I hate Cowboy fans. Like, they're sitting here saying things like typical Cowboys, throwing out the old tired Dak in the garbage memes. This game went exactly as you should have expected it to go. It was a hard-fought, physical game. Both teams could have won, and one team did win. Like, this was exactly what we talked about. It was maybe a little lower scoring than we had suggested or thought, but it was by no means because of inept offense. These were two great defensive teams that made every yard, every first down, every score difficult. This was a great, great football game. I didn't look at the Cowboys as losers in this game, and I'm a Niners fan. I looked at the Cowboys as the team that just finished 60 minutes with a fewer points. This was a game both teams had a lot to be proud of in terms of how they played. It wasn't that they underperformed or were sloppy or made a bunch of mistakes on offense. No, these were two great defensive teams that made life miserable for each other for 60 minutes. Like, that's what this was. I mean, when you watch this game, basically two guys made huge plays, had big stat lines. George Kittle for the Niners and CeeDee Lamb for Dallas. But ultimately, there were a lot of punts in this game. There were a number of 3-and-outs. There was a number of clutch defensive stops where it was 3rd and short and they would get stopped on both sides. This was a classic football game, a classic January playoff football game between two rivals. It was probably my favorite football game I've watched all year. This game was awesome. I loved every minute of it. And the fact that I have to log on to social after the game yesterday and see the same tired, boring memes about the Cowboys choking and all this other stuff and have that be the analysis. What game did these people watch? That's not what I saw. I saw a great defensive slugfest, and one team won.
we might have seen a slightly different game. Each quarterback had 13 pass attempts on 3rd down.
Mm-hmm.
Purdy converted 6 of them. Nice percentage. Prescott converted 2. He overlooked T.Y. Hilton for a wide open throw, which would have been a touchdown, to force the ball to CeeDee Lamb, which he has a habit of doing. Prescott was not good.
I didn't think Purdy was particularly good either. I didn't think
he was effective.
Well,
that's all he had to be.
Both teams were effective. The Niners won this game with their defense, and the Cowboys nearly won this game with their defense. This was a defensive battle. To me,
that doesn't excuse what Prescott did. He had a bad day, and he admitted it.
It was forced on him. That's what I was just going to say. Any offensive ineffectiveness, I'm chalking up to defensive greatness last night. Every ounce of it, from what I'm
not going to sit here and say the Cowboys choked.
They didn't. I mean,
but there's a reason they lost.
Yeah, the Niners
it was the Niners' defense was better than theirs.
Absolutely.
But Prescott had a bad day, and he admitted it. The interceptions were terrible.
Yeah, he had a bad day because he was against a defense that forced his hand into a bad day. Like, to me, this wasn't Prescott making mistakes. This was a defense forcing them.
Oh, it was a
It
combination.
was a big. Oh, I didn't see it that way at all. I saw this as a
You're
pure
one of the few.
defensive slugfest. Nothing else. Totally, completely, and 100% defensive oriented on both sides of this game. And I thought both teams had chances to win, and the Niners managed to do it. And I think the Niners are more talented.
Well, they're a better team, period.
Right. So they were supposed to win, and they did. I mean, this was a difference of, I personally think if the Niners never acquire Christian McCaffrey, they don't win this game. Not that he had the biggest game in the world, but he was a constant source of attention and distraction, and he had a couple of big plays.
He was. And when I said something about Prescott, you immediately jumped back at me. Well, what about Purdy? I don't compare the last pick in the draft to a guy who's making the kind of money Prescott makes.
Oh, I don't compare.
He needs to make those plays.
Well,
period.
He didn't have the opportunity to make them. The defense didn't allow it. That's what I'm saying.
He had the opportunity. If you saw how wide open T.Y. Hilton was on that one play, there was nobody within 10 yards of him. That's a touchdown if he takes his eyes off of double covered CD Lamb for a bit.
Yeah, there was too much pressure on him all night long. That's what
and
forces
a quarterback's supposed to
spots.
be able to do that at this stage of his career.
Not against a defense like that. I don't put any blame on Prescott for this one. This was,
and McCarthy made some head scratching decisions too.
Well, the last play of the game was weird, but like besides that, I mean, that was desperation.
Yeah, why did you put Zeke Elliott out there to be a
center? Yeah, that was
to be a target for someone to just maul.
Yeah, that was that was strange. That was the only coaching question I had this whole game, though.
He misused the clock near the end and called timeouts. You got 3 of them.
Well, I think the biggest mistake of the game was actually made by the Niners, and it didn't matter. And that was when it was the Cowboys. The biggest mistake of the game. No, it was the Niners. It was when Elijah Mitchell ran out of bounds when he could have just knelt and the game would have been over. The Cowboys wouldn't have even gotten that last possession. That was the biggest mistake of the game by either side, as far as I'm concerned.
And then Dallas made mental mistakes on the last possession, not getting 2 feet in bounds, being very lackadaisical about it. And no one was near him, so there was no pressure.
Well, yeah, that was Schultz. And
so that was horrible.
That was the biggest mistake of the game for Dallas. Nothing to do with McCarthy or Prescott. That was the receiver being.
Oh, I could give you some for each.
I didn't see him. I really didn't.
I saw him.
I saw a great defensive performance from both teams and a absolutely perfectly played football game that was just awesome to watch. It was one of the best football games I've watched in a number of years. I thought it was
believe
amazing.
Me, I'm not pinning this all on Prescott. There's a difference when you have a quarterback and you have Kyle Shanahan and having a quarterback and having Kellen Moore.
I also think
not a knock to Kellen Moore, but
Shanahan's a better play caller.
Shanahan's the master.
Yeah, he is.
And that was the big advantage Purdy had.
And absolutely. And I also think we haven't even touched on this fact. If Pollard doesn't go out in the beginning of the game, this could be a different game. That would be the equivalent of Deebo Samuel going out for San Francisco.
Could be, but like I said, injuries are just...
No, they're part of the game. But, I mean, I thought that had more to do with it, potentially, than anything Prescott or McCarthy did or didn't do. I think this was a defensive slugfest, and the Niners made 1 or 2 extra plays, and they had all their playmakers. The Cowboys didn't after the first series or 2 of the game, whenever Pollard got hurt. Like, that's a big deal. It's not like a small thing.
And they had chances and didn't do it.
Well, it's because the Niners prevented them from doing it.
Excuses are the nails that build the house of failure.
Well, there's no excuses here. That's what I'm saying.
I don't want to hear about injuries.
No, there's no excuse. There's no excuses.
Get the job done.
There's no excuses here. This was a great game between 2 great defenses, and one team won, as are the rules. This could have easily gone the other way. So I give the Cowboys a 9 out of 10 in this game for their performance, and I give the Niners a 10 out of 10. I think this game was a perfectly played football game, and I'm happy I got to watch it. I absolutely loved it.
It was probably the best game of the weekend.
Oh, it was without a doubt that. I mean, the other games were, we'll get to those later in the show, probably the middle of the hour after the question of the day. But this was my opening rant today. I'm tired of the cowboy hating. It's stupid because none of the stuff that they're making, that those memes come from, none of that stuff happened last night. Last night was just a pure and straightforward slugfest, and ultimately someone had to win. So
Yeah, but you know why you get that stuff, don't you?
well, because it's just habit. People have been doing it for years.
No, it's all the America's team BS.
Well,
It really is.
they are
There's a
America's
clip.
team.
Well, okay,
Well, the
part of
numbers say
America.
that the numbers say that.
Okay,
I mean,
whatever.
that's where that comes from.
I'll argue that to the death, but at a different time and a different
I
place.
mean, the numbers are what they are.
I mean, there was a great clip on ESPN Plus yesterday of Stephen A. Smith laughing for about a minute and trying to say he was happy, and it was just hilarious. But then again, he's not a fan.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm tired of seeing, is all this hate on this team. This is a team that's competitive and good every year, and that's all you can ask for. They're really not that different from the Steelers. Happens to be the Steelers won a Super Bowl a little bit more recently, but they haven't won a Super Bowl in a very long time either. This is a
True.
team. This is a team that's always good. And if I'm a fan
they always are.
And if I'm a fan of any team in any sport, that's all I can ask for. Let me have relevant games every year. And you get that as a Cowboys fan. You do. And what else can you ask for? I think that's all you can ask for as a fan. But ultimately they ran up against, and look, we both picked the Niners to win this game. We both thought they were the better team.
And they weren't. Yeah, but I mean,
we both thought they were.
Dallas threw a couple of chances away that had nothing to do with
well, that's where we disagree.
The defense.
That's where we disagree. I think everything Dallas failed to execute yesterday was attributable to the Niners defense.
Nah, he was not rushed on that throw he forced where T.Y. Hilton was standing there waiting for the ball.
But he'd been rushed all game, so his timing was off. That's a ripple effect.
Okay, that's an excuse.
It's not an excuse. That's a ripple effect.
It is.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's a ripple effect of great defense. When you've been playing one way the entire game, one play it doesn't happen, you're already playing that way. It doesn't just dissipate on that one play. That's not how it works. I mean, that's what that was. And look, I mean, ultimately, if there's any mistakes in this game, there were two, as far as I'm concerned. Both were made by receivers. Mitchell for the Niners not getting out of bounds, and Schultz not getting his foot in bounds when he definitely could have. Those were the two mistakes of the game, as far as I'm concerned. Both made by receivers. Or
where I want to give San Francisco his credit. Everybody talks about, Bosa, Armstead, they're so good. Yeah, they better be. They're first round picks. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah, I like Warner a lot.
El-Shaair, undrafted. Warner and Greenlaw were mid-round picks. Hufanga was a fifth-round pick, and that's a safety I'd love to have. Yeah, the coaches do a great job, but what they do best, they invest that time on these young players on defense, and they get them to that point. That's the best group. As good as that line is, that's the best group of linebackers in the NFL.
Yeah, and no, it's true. I mean, Warner in particular, they don't win this game without him yesterday. He made so many plays in coverage. It was unbelievable. He had one play down the middle, like about 30 yards, 40 yards down the field. Here he is, a middle linebacker in coverage. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Hufanga, too.
Yep.
He'll be on coverage one play and in the backfield the next.
Yeah, no, their linebackers are incredibly versatile in coverage.
That's a safety if you didn't want as a coach, you're not a coach.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
Just an incredible defense.
Yeah, no question about it.
We get a chance to talk this week about two of these defenses coming together.
Yeah, let's we got a lot more football to get to. Recapping the weekend. Next up is the radio question of the day. After that, we will have our football analysis from the weekend. A lot of basketball to get to today as well. A lot to get to. Just getting started. The Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. All right, so we got a little delay in the question of the day, so let's just dive into this football real quick. Looking at the games from the weekend, well, you know what? Actually, it looks like we're going to be okay here with the question, so we'll just do that first, then we'll continue on with the program. So just give us a second here. Again, just to kind of recap, I thought one last thing that was kind of cool about yesterday's Niners game was the fact that all of the stars were out. I mean, that was one of the things that was cool about the build up to this game is it is Cowboys Niners. There is so much history there, but we haven't had a new chapter, a new entry in the history of that rivalry in quite some time. Not that different than how it was back in '08 when the Celtics and Lakers played in the finals. It was the first time in a very long time that a new entry had been written in that classic sports novel. And that's what we saw last night in the buildup with the Cowboys and the Niners. I mean, you had Jerry Rice over there, you had Joe Montana. I mean, there was
Yeah.
luminaries on both sides. Charles Haley, who interestingly enough, who knows who he was rooting for because he played for both teams during that.
He could have sat at midfield.
Right, exactly. So,
no, the stars were out.
Oh, and that was cool. That's not something you see as frequently in football as you do in basketball. So, like, and I actually think that's a good thing because when it happens, it means something. Like you knew that game like had extra meaning, and that was a cool factor yesterday too that I really enjoyed. And by the way, Jerry Rice looks like he could go out there and run a yard or a friggin' route right now. Like
I know
he looks crazy how healthy and vibrant he looks. But
doesn't he? It's
amazing.
It's amazing.
All right, here it really is. Here's our question of the day.
Live Golf is spending, like the tour has a license to print money. I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer. And again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-648-9175. That's 800-648-9175.
Live Golf spent nearly $800 million in its first year of operation, and Golf Monthly reports the tour is expected to spend as much as $1 billion more in the coming year. A large chunk of that cheddar is rumored to be set aside for the CW network. The network will reportedly be receiving significant funding from Live in a deal that promises the Pro Tour access to the CW's market share of 18 to 34-year-olds. The tour can certainly afford the young audience, as it is financed by the Public Investment Fund, which is the sovereign wealth fund of Saudi Arabia. Question: which do you think CW viewers are most likely to watch? Live Golf or Nancy Drew?
How about neither?
Probably neither. But
Yeah.
I would, in the spirit of the question, I'm gonna say Nancy Drew. I don't think 18 to 34-year-olds watch a lot of golf. Maybe the very end of that range starts to get into it a little bit, but I think golf as both a viewing sport and a participation sport, unless you're brought up in it as like your childhood, it's something you do when you get older and you can't do other things, or when it becomes expedient for your career. If you work in certain fields, being at least competent at golf can be lucrative, because if you work in certain types of sales, that's like a standard meeting and wheeling and dealing place is the golf course. So, and generally when you get to that level in your career, you're not 25. You're probably
Right.
like 40 or in your
Right.
mid 30s
Right.
at the earliest. Like I said, then maybe the edge of that range, the very outer edge of that range, maybe you start getting a little bit, but I mean, and maybe my generation was a little different because we came of age during the phenomenon, and it was a phenomenon of Tiger Woods. that sort of had a cultural revolution, like, Elvis type of vibe to it, which is atypical for golf. I mean, even among other great players. I mean, Jack Nicklaus was never that. He was a great golfer and an American icon, but like he was kind of built like a slow cooker. Like his icon status grew as he got older and further removed from his playing career.
Yeah.
Tiger was like a meteor that shot across the sky.
Right.
He was a whole different phenomenon, but that's a once in a history of the sport type of thing. Generally, golf is not something heavily consumed by a younger audience. It's just not.
I agree completely. I played it when I was in that age range because when I lived in Arizona, I played at the Phoenix Country Club every week.
Look at you,
Eh,
high class citizen over here.
It had nothing to do with that. I actually took a job on weekend mornings working banquets, waiting the tables to get those privileges every Monday night.
Understood.
I don't play now because I can't. And I don't really watch either. I had one eye open all the time when Tiger was there and relevant.
Yes.
But I didn't grow up with that. And I don't know. Am I going to sit and watch live golf? I am nowhere near the age range they want to attract, but they should want to attract some people closer to my age.
I agree. And this is the thing I've always permit me to get a little nerdy on the marketing and advertising business here for a second, but like
please do.
This is one of the things I've never really agreed with or understood. There's this idea in advertising, in marketing, that you want to attract almost regardless a younger audience. The theory being what underpins that desire, the theory that underpins it is if we hook them now at their impressionable age, is they'll be customers for life. So we'll have them for 50, 60 years. That's the theory. Okay. I don't think that theory is bulletproof or even particularly sound. I understand it to certain degrees for certain consumer products. Like I get it for Procter and Gamble products, for example. Generally speaking, people don't change what toilet paper or toothpaste or paper towels.
Shaving products.
Yeah, that stuff I understand it. But when you're talking about something like a entertainment product, that's never going to follow you. What you find entertaining at 20 in most people's lives has no bearing on what you find entertaining at 40 or 60. It just doesn't. I mean, there are some things that will always speak to sort of your nostalgia bend, movies you grew up with and things like that. But as far as like contemporary entertainment, what I thought was interesting at 14, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is not what I think is interesting at 37. History Channel, World War II documentaries. It changes. So I think the idea as a marketer that you would go after a younger audience irrespective of your product is not really sound strategically, because to your point, Rich, and you're exactly right, it's golf. Your age group has money, and your age group probably plays golf at a much higher density, definitely plays golf at a much higher density than the 18 to 34 crowd, who also doesn't have the same assets and discretionary income as someone in their 60s or 50s. So, like, yeah.
Right.
That's
and
who I'm marketing
a number
to.
of my friends still play.
Right. And they probably pay money to be members of clubs. They probably spend money on new equipment on a regular basis. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
See, me, I've never joined a club, but nor would I.
Well, you're not a golfer.
I wouldn't, in anything. I wouldn't want to be any part of a club that would have me as a member. It's just a personal thing.
Okay. Well, I guess what I'm
But I get it.
What I'm saying is if I'm a marketer, if I'm live golf, I absolutely, my starting point in the age I'm looking at is 34 at the earliest.
Yes.
at the youngest. I mean,
You're looking at the 34, 49 and up.
Yeah, I might be looking at
Numbers.
45 to 60. Like, really, I mean, like, that's the sweet
Right.
spot, because you're talking about people at that point who are on the low end of that range, mid-career, peak or close to peak earnings, probably work in sales and thus use golf professionally, in addition to as a hobby. And then you're talking on the higher end of that range, people with extra time on their hands, maybe they're retired, they still have discretionary income, and now it's something that they do on a regular basis. They're passionate about it. They bring their friends. It just doesn't make sense. So end of nerdy rant.
I know someone in this climate who golfs 10 months a year.
I believe it.
This past weekend, they were up in Niagara Falls, Ontario, golfing because the course was clear. And I get it. I get it. Now I have a friend who just closed a business deal who actually made his year already and did it on the pickleball court. So that's interesting too.
That is interesting. Yeah, that could be maybe the next version of golf as like a sort of a place, because like really to this point, golf has always been the only sport, maybe tennis a tiny bit, where like business is sort of like a part of playing. Like it really,
Right.
you know, the golf was the only sport that was ever really a thing. Maybe a tiny bit tennis. It would be interesting. It's interesting to hear about your friend closing business deals on the pickleball court. I'm curious.
I mean, an 8-figure deal.
That's pretty cool. That really
And
is.
he says he does that a few times a week with clients sometimes.
Yep.
Because he could do it 12 months out of the year because it's indoors
It's
too.
indoors. No, it makes sense.
And in this kind of climate, if you're in Arizona, okay, play year long. Doesn't help Charles Barkley, but most people will get better.
Yeah, he went the reverse. He got worse as he started playing more.
Oh, there's a hitch in his swing.
Oh,
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
That's a.
I'm sorry, Chuck, but that's just terrible.
That's an understatement. A hitch. That's a big understatement. But yeah, no. So I don't think to kind of wrap this up, I don't think many 18 to 34-year-olds are watching Live Golf. I don't care what channel it's on.
No, even if you get some at that age who play it,
Right.
and there are some because their
yeah.
fathers did.
Of course, yeah.
Even the grandfathers.
But they were
did.
already
They've
they were already watching. That's not going to expand your audience. People like that.
But they're not watching as much as they're playing at that age.
Right, but they're watching it, they're following it, they're interacting with it. I mean, but that my point is, whatever percentage of people that is was already there. This deal,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because of who it's targeted at, is not going to grow their audience the way they're hoping it would. Now, if they targeted this deal at people who were 40 to 65, I think it would do very well. Because I think there's a significant group of people in that age in particular who are heavily influenced and heavily enamored with Phil Mickelson. And I think you could use him, if you're Live, as sort of carrot to bring those people over from PGA viewership. I absolutely think you could do that. But that's not going to work with a 26-year-old.
No.
It'll work with a 52-year-old.
A 26-year-old that's playing actually wants to play more than they want to watch. Right. And at that age, who doesn't?
Right. And with whatever watching they're going to do, they're watching guys like Jordan Spieth. They're watching Rory McIlroy. They're watching younger, more socially visible.
John Rahm. They're looking at people.
Yep, exactly.
Who was great this weekend, by the way, but I saw highlights.
There we go. All right.
Well, and I saw someone hit a second shot on a par 5 on sports this morning. 200 something feet, 280 feet into the hole. It was cool.
All right. Good stuff.
And that's our golf recap.
I'm telling you, man. Look at that. We even got golf in today. All right.
We get everything.
We do it. We do it. All right. Well, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the rest of the football games. Back to the football.
Can we get the bad one over with, please?
We'll do that next. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All right, so postmortem. Let's do it. Well, there's no way to put this. The Bills got killed.
Outplayed, outcoached, out-strategized, out-hustled. The coolest thing about this game was seeing Damar Hamlin on the Jumbotron at the beginning of the game, firing up the crowd.
He probably could have had another heart attack watching this garbage. My God, what a mess.
Firing up the Mafia is not hard to do.
It's true.
Firing up the players is another question.
Yeah.
This
was a disaster.
I ducked away from social media after this because I knew all the kind of stuff I was about to see. And one got me infuriated enough to where I answered it with what I sent you this morning. I don't want to hear excuses. They got annihilated.
That's it. That's all there is.
They deserved every bit of what they got.
Yeah. Right from the jump,
effort was not there. They look like they've never played in snow before. The offense was crisp for the Bengals.
It was.
And someone actually tried to diffuse this by saying to me, they only scored 27 points. They only had 7 drives. They scored on 5 of them. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'll take that, yes.
And I'm at the point where I'm looking at this, and every weakness was exposed. Every week. I don't want to hear an excuse about injuries. The Bengals were playing 3 reserve offensive linemen.
Yeah, Von Miller doesn't change the outcome of this game.
No, not at all.
He might make it a little closer, but no.
Not much.
Not much.
Not much.
Maybe a touchdown at the most. This.
At the most, but 3 reserve offensive linemen and you get 1 sack, that's a pathetic effort.
Yeah.
And I will normally get a little angry at these games. Go figure. I wasn't at all. I was disgusted with the performance, but I was not even upset. I just said, this is putrid. If this is the way you go out, Josh Allen looked like a rookie. Was he pressured? Yeah. He was sacked once. He was pressured other times. Singletary had, what did he have? A whopping 28 yards rushing on 7 carries, 4 yards a carry. Might want to try that a little bit more.
Yes.
They were terribly outcoached. The Bengals staff played their game to every weakness. They limited Allen as a passer and a runner. They held Stephon Diggs in check. You combine that defensive effort with Burrow's offense, the Bengals are the Chiefs' biggest AFC threat, not the Bills. And I think this window is closing quickly.
Yeah, I hear you. I will. The only modification to everything you just said that I might make is I would say Mixon's offense. Mixon was a human wrecking crew in this game.
Yes, he was.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, he was. And the Bills' defense acted like they've never tackled.
It was crazy. Every time he got the ball, like it got to the point where I was expecting him to get between 7 and 15 yards every time he touched it. Like,
He was.
I know, it was crazy. Like, to me, if I had to pick one thing from this cornucopia of train wreck problems the Bills showed me yesterday, if I had to just pick one, it would be the way Mixon just absolutely every time he touched the ball was good for a minimum of 5 yards every single time.
Yes.
Most of the time, a lot
Yes.
more. Like,
He had
see,
a brilliant game.
you can't win that way. It's impossible because if they could just hand the ball to a running back and get a first down every time he touches it, or half of a first down at an absolute minimum, you're not going to win. You can't win. It's impossible. And
Right.
like if they did,
And I
nothing
will
else,
give one player some props on that Buffalo defense. Matt Milano played hard from beginning to
Yeah,
end.
he did. He was the only one on either side of the ball.
No
really.
one else showed up,
No,
and that's unacceptable.
no. It's. I mean, this is the type of thing.
There were no defensive adjustments at halftime. They went out there playing the same suck defense they played
Yep.
in the first half. I'm sure McDermott is safe, and he should be.
Yep.
But I asked the same question last year, and I'm starting to wonder if it's more relevant now. Have they peaked under him?
I tell you what, I've been questioning two things, and I actually mentioned this last week at one point, maybe more softly than I'm going to mention it now. I think their roster needs upgrading. Specifically, I think they need a much better running back and a true number 2 receiver. I like Gabe Davis. I like Knox, but I look at them as complementary pieces, not number 2s. They need an actual threat alongside Stephon Diggs.
They do.
And they need
They do.
more than that, they need a running back to me. I've never been a big fan of Singletary. I think he's a competent back. I think he's a decent change of pace back. I don't think he's a go-to back, and I don't think he's even a starting back. I think he's like a change of pace guy, third down, situational back. I want a guy that I can reasonably hand the ball to 20 times, 15, 18 times a game and expect positive yardage every time. Like if I was the Bills, that would be my number one priority. I want a actual thing for a defensive coordinator to have to think about besides Allen's passing. And right now, Singletary's competent, but you're never going to commit resources to stopping him. I guess that's the best way to put it. I want a running back the defensive coordinators have to commit resources to. That's what I want if I'm the Bills.
I say he can be effective if he gets the ball more, but he's not that back. I think Cook potentially is.
Yeah, I want
they don't use him.
Yeah, I
don't know if it's because he was a rookie.
Yeah,
that's the dumbest thing ever if that's the reason.
No, I that would be dumb. I tend to think that they don't use him because they don't believe he is that. Me personally, I don't believe either of them are that. I think they need a running back. I really do.
I think Cook can be. He reminds me so much of his brother.
That would be nice.
And he's got breakaway speed. He's tough, and he's got hands.
The good news about needing a running back is you don't have to be picking at the top of the draft to get a really good one.
Right.
That's the good news.
I think they need a receiver even more.
I think they're both necessary.
I think in 2 years, Gabe Davis proved he's one of the best slot guys.
Yes. Move him to the slot. We need another guy.
Put him back there and get a second receiver.
Yep, absolutely.
And no, it's not the people on your roster. It's not Jamison Crowder if he's ever healthy. It's not. You need a second receiver.
Agreed. 100% agree.
And Josh Allen looked like he's never played in cold weather. It's like, come on.
Yeah, something was off with the whole team. And it from the very
Yeah.
beginning, I mean, the very start of the game, like they couldn't tackle anybody. Like
No,
I was
no,
like,
they
what
couldn't.
happened? Like it just was.
But like I said, 10 of your 11 defenders were no-shows. That doesn't get the job done.
It doesn't. Nope.
And there may be a fall guy. If there's gonna be one, Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator, might be an obvious one. They made no adjustments on defense. They looked exactly as putrid in the third quarter as they did the second. Yeah. Although, what a big difference between Dable and Dorsey's offense.
Yeah, well, there's that. I kind of honestly.
And I also blame the Bills. I blame the Bills. Remember what I said of going into that Minnesota game when Allen hurt his elbow? It's an NFC game. It's not even a conference game. Let it go. Let it go. Play the backup. Let him heal. He hasn't been right since. And it showed if you look at his numbers from that point on. Give it a damn week. I didn't care about the Vikings. Oh, we'll play them. Yeah, and you lost anyway.
Yeah, see, I think if I'm the Bills, I'm not firing anybody, even Frazier. And I'm not going to hold Dorsey against the Dable standard because there's a reason Brian Dable is now a head coach and probably going to win coach of the year. Like, you can't expect every offensive coordinator to be great like that. Like, Dable was great. You know what I mean? Like, Dorsey's competent. He's not a bad OC. But, like...
No, he's not. But I'd have kept more of that offense because it was just...
Right. Maybe he just doesn't know how to run it. I mean, because it's not his. But either way, what I was going to say is if I'm the Bills, I'm less focused on my coaching staff and more focused on my roster. I think the two things we pointed out, a running back and a receiver, have to be accomplished in this offseason by draft.
It would solve a lot of the problem.
It would. I mean, whether you draft a guy, sign a free agent, or trade for someone. See, what I would do is I would either trade for or sign the receiver. I want a known entity there, and I can be a little bit more creative with a mid-round draft pick or a late first-round pick with my running back. But with the receiver, I want to leave nothing to chance. I want a known guy. That's
like when they went out and got Diggs.
Yes, I want a known entity who I know is good. Call up the Raiders. Is Adams pissed off? He should be. Is he?
Well, I'll tell you who's pissed
grumpy?
off. Stephon Diggs.
Well, yeah, that's a bigger problem because
he
already
stormed out of that locker room after the game, but they had to go back and get him.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, that's not good. Hopefully
it's not.
Hopefully that's just momentary like anger at the situation, but
I hope so. If it's not,
yeah, that's bad news for the Bills.
The beginning of the end.
Yeah, it is. That it's. And
that's somebody you don't want to.
You can't lose.
Mentally lose.
Nope. Yeah. So that's that was a mess. Okay, so we cleared up the mess in Buffalo. Took a lot of snowplows, but we did it.
No, we need many more.
Let's talk.
It was not good. It was embarrassing.
Yep.
It really was.
Yep. Let's talk about some of these other games. I have to tell you.
Well, I will say one thing before we do that. Joe Burrow had the comment of the night when they asked him
on those tickets.
Yeah, if the Bengals were all fired up about that, and I thought that was a bad look anyway. He goes, "Yeah, they were." He goes, "Oh, better refund those tickets," and I like that.
That's funny. I thought, honestly, getting to one of the other games here. I thought, under the circumstances, I thought Patrick Mahomes played his most impressive game I've ever watched him play in his career to this point. He was clearly dragging his foot the entire game, and really the deciding play of this game was a touchdown pass he threw as a jump pass off that injured ankle. This guy showed major heart and intestinal fortitude and guts that is not common among high-level quarterbacks. It's just not. I mean, it was just what a performance. I give him a lot of credit. And the other bit of news, Travis Kelce's really good at football.
And if you look at his numbers, 14 for 98, that's a great compensation for what Mahomes was not able to do.
Yep.
And that's the mark of a great player, a
Yep.
combination of great players.
Yep. And a great coach. Andy Reid's as good a
Yes.
coach as there's ever been in football.
Oh, yeah.
Guy's
Oh,
just
yeah.
a great, great coach. There's all that you could say to it.
And
And
one of the best offensive minds. And the most brilliant thing he did, Mahomes credits him for this to that day, was sitting him for a year. Mahomes said he learned so much from Alex Smith about how to watch a game when you're on the sidelines and what to look for. He said that made him better without playing.
interesting. You know,
Sometimes the worst problem is throwing these kids into the fire.
yeah, well, the Chiefs, I mean, that's true. But to be fully complete about that thought, the Chiefs were in a privileged position with that. Mahomes was not a top 3 pick. He was middle of the round. And they had
picked him with pick 10.
10, yeah. So 10, top 10. But you also had a guy who was competent at that time, and you were a playoff team. So you had the luxury, everything aligned for you to take that approach. It's a lot different when you take a guy 2nd or 3rd overall and you were a 4-win team the year before, 3-win team. There's just a lot of extra pressures that make that harder to do. But
that's usually when the results are the worst, though.
Well, you're already bad. That's
right.
But
Alex Smith should be coaching quarterback somewhere
if he wants to. I mean, he might not want to do that, but I agree. One thing
he'd be good at it.
One thing I want to say about Andy Reid, real quick. I was thinking about this. I don't know if there's ever been another head coach who has had 10 plus years at 2 stops. Think about that. Most great coaches.
There has never been.
It hasn't been, right?
A coach who has had multiple 10 plus win years at 2 stops. Never.
Right. Well, that's another stat. I was just saying in terms
there has also never been a head coach who's won this many playoff games
with 2 teams.
With 2 teams. Yeah, he's proving what he is.
Yeah, he's just a great coach. And I was even being more fundamental than that. Of all the coaches, has there even been 2 coaches that have had 10-year or longer stops at 2 places? Usually you have like one longer stop and then 1 or
Mike
2
Holmgren.
shorter ones. Mike Holmgren, Bill Belichick, guys like that. Tom Coughlin.
I got to look that up.
Tom Coughlin might be close with Jacksonville and New York. He was at both for quite a while.
I got to look that up. I don't think there is.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Off the top of my head, Coughlin might be the closest because I know he was.
I'm going to check that during the break.
Yeah, because I mean that just shows what type of great coach he is. Because to get 2 organizations to keep you that long in this profession is basically mission impossible.
Yeah.
But
when you have the results,
well, that's just it. He always wins.
You don't get rid of them.
Right.
I mean, that's
exactly. Yeah, he's going to
Which is why, despite what I'm hearing in Buffalo today, I don't think Sean McDermott needs to see the door.
No, I don't think so either.
Because I think if you do that, you're back to where you were.
No, I agree. I think this is a roster problem. It's not a coaching problem.
Right.
Last game to get to before we wrap this up and head to the top of the hour. So we talked about Kansas City. We talked about Buffalo. We talked about the Dallas game. Let's just talk the other elephant in the room, the other massacre. The Giants got absolutely bludgeoned by a vicious, insane Eagles defense that I tell you what, I cannot wait for the NFC title game. This is going to be I know. Great.
And I hear people frying Jones. No, a different quarterback wouldn't have made a bit of difference.
Tom Brady doesn't win this game.
No, Barkley didn't get a lot of carries. Well, when you're behind,
what are you going to do?
He doesn't. Was Barkley upset? He was upset at losing, but not upset because his contract's up and he wants to return. He doesn't want to go anywhere else.
Right. Good. They should want him back. I mean, he was the engine that powered this team this year.
Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't as much if they were worried about having him back as if he wanted to come back.
Yeah.
And he said he does.
Good. They should want him back.
And I take him at his word.
But yeah, there's not much to say about this. This one was, but it's the one thing I will say about it is it's different than the Bills game. See, the Giants way outperformed expectations. So this was like, you would like to see this be closer, but ultimately, if you're a Giants fan, you're happy with the season. But as Mike Vaccaro said in the post yesterday, and I think he's right, you also have to be cold and calculating with taking this team to the next level and not get sentimental about, basically overachieving, because you're not going to have that luxury next year. There's going to be expectations next year where there weren't this year. The Bills, of course, had the weight of expectations, understandably and deservedly so, and they failed to meet them. The Giants way exceeded whatever wishful thinking. I won't even use the word expectation. It was just wishful thinking. Like, if you were a Giant fan going into this year, you were kind of hoping, if we could be around 500, that would be good. Although you did way more than that. So this loss.
Know that you have a nice team.
Yep.
Know that the work is nowhere near done.
It's not finished, right? And I think that that's what makes this game, despite it being actually technically worse by a score standpoint than what the Bills experienced, it doesn't have the same doom and gloom feel because of the backdrop of where these teams were in their bell curve.
One was expected to be in the Super Bowl,
right,
and one was not expected to be in the playoffs.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I give the Giants major props for what they did.
100%. It was a great season for the Giants. And look, they lost to just a much better team. I mean, the Eagles are just better. It's just all there is to it.
Yes.
I thought maybe the Giants could Barkley their way to a kind of quasi-competitive close game. That wasn't the case. And, the Eagles just showed who they were, which is the best team in the NFL this year. I mean, their defenses, we talked about on the phone yesterday, these guys are fast. I mean, they're scary fast.
Yes, they are.
It's like the Flash running around. It's like, what? Where'd that guy come from?
That's why I can't wait for next Sunday.
Oh, I can't wait. We'll talk about that as the week gets on. All right, let's take a break.
Oh, yeah.
We'll come back. Hour 2 around the corner. We'll do the top 5. A lot to get to. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave. All righty, welcome back to the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, Hour 2. Great to have you aboard. And, of course, the top of the hour means only one thing. It's time now for the top 5.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
All right, there we have it. Thank you, Jack George. What do we got today, Rich?
Well, let's address the elephant in the room. We touched it Friday, and you chose the path of least resistance. Now we're going to send you down the path of much resistance. Give me your top 5 locations, next locations for Tom Brady.
Oh,
I know.
man.
I know. I just couldn't ignore it. Get it off the table now.
All right. Can we send him to On Top of the World, the retirement community down in Florida? He's not quite old enough yet, but maybe we can make an exception for him. That would be my first choice. Can we just get him out of here?
Well, you know he's too stubborn for that.
Oh, well, now that he's ditched his wife for football, he's going to play till he's 60. So.
Yeah. I mean, I figure he's got at least 2 more years left.
At least now, yeah. He's probably going to play till he's 50. Like, maybe not. I might not be exaggerating there.
I mean, because believe me, the Tampa Bay story last year was not his failure.
Right.
It was a group failure. But
yes.
It was not because he couldn't play.
Right. He might have been mentally distracted for a lot of the year, which is understandable given what he was going through. But all right, let's see. I think the most logical place for Brady is probably Miami, honestly. I don't think Tua is all that good.
He also has a home there.
Right. So even assuming Tua's health, I would just rather Tom Brady. Like if your goal is to try to win, he's going to get you closer to that goal than Tua will. And
with those receivers, yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So I think that's my number one. I don't like him in San Francisco. Let's roll with Purdy. He's proving to be good and capable. He played very well against a absolutely tenacious Dallas defense yesterday.
Really good defense.
I'm in. Like, I'm all about Purdy. If I'm the Niners, just as a quick aside here, I'm gonna try to convince Garoppolo to come back as a backup. I don't know what options he's gonna have as a starter elsewhere, but I'm gonna try to convince him to come back as a backup. If not, I'm gonna sign a backup. I'm trading Trey Lance, and Purdy's my guy, and I'm bringing in a veteran backup. If it's not Garoppolo.
And you're not signing Brady to be a backup.
Well, no, that's why I'm saying Brady doesn't fit
right
in San Francisco.
But there is mutual interest.
I know. That's why I got out ahead of that. To me, on my list, they're not going to be there. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Now, let's see some other teams. The Jets could really use him because they don't have a long-term answer at quarterback at all. And they have a pretty good team right now. Not a great team, but a solid team with a couple of playmakers. Hall will be back. Maybe they can bring one more in the offseason. If I was the Jets, I would be making calls to every available quarterback, whether it's Brady.
Yeah, because I know they're on Rodgers' radar.
Brady, Rodgers,
and
Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Any of these guys are major upgrades for the Jets. Let's see. So that would be number 2. Number 3. I'll tell you what, if I'm Seattle, I'm making a phone call. I think we got a lucky year out of Geno Smith. I don't have confidence in him at all. If this team is reasonably good, Brady might help them get to that next level. Do
you think they're a Brady away from really being a contender?
I think they're a double-digit win team with Tom Brady. I do.
Okay.
I do. I don't know that they're going to beat the Niners. But I do think that they're appreciably better. Here's an interesting one. Now he's already re-upped, so this is probably just academic. But if Matt Stafford isn't healthy, the Rams make a lot of sense. It's a ready-made team with veteran players ready to win and have won recently. Had a bad year last year. They have a reasonably proven
Offensive
coach.
line issues.
Yeah, that's the thing. You'd have to clean that up a little bit. But I mean, they had a lot of injuries last year.
They did,
including their quarterback. That could be a dark horse potential. Now this,
interesting.
yeah, that would be a weird one. This is another weird one. I mean, you probably have to hire like you'd have to resurrect Milton Friedman to run the economics on this to make this happen. But like, what about if they could figure out a way to do it? It would be funny if it was Denver. It's like it's like, yeah, we're gonna bench the most expensive quarterback in history because he stinks and bring in a 45-year-old, 46-year-old.
I just don't think they could put enough around him
Yeah,
with those two salaries to do it, but it would be hilarious.
That would be so funny. You would need Milton Freeman, like I said, back from the dead to work those numbers. But oh man, that would be funny.
You just made my day. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see who else. I'm just trying to think of other contending teams that don't have a really good quarterback. Because most of the teams that don't have a quarterback aren't very good. What about a place like? Nah, not them. Man, there's not a lot.
What about? I got one for you. What about Tennessee?
That's an interesting one. I think the fact that they got rid of Hollywood Brown makes me concerned. There's one. Baltimore. That gives them great leverage in the Lamar Jackson negotiations.
Yeah, it does.
He's probably better than Jackson. That's a great alternative to Lamar. And can you see Brady and Andrews? Wouldn't they just be best buds?
Oh man. Andrews is Gronk too.
Basically,
so
that's exactly right. And then wouldn't that be something if Gronk came out of retirement and joined Brady in Baltimore? You had to cover both of them.
A 2 tight end offense. Yeah. Oh my God. They can both run block too.
Right, exactly. I mean, and you know what? This sounds like fantasy land, but it's not that far fetched. I mean, we don't know what the deal is going to be with Jackson and them. And Gronk has already put it out there that he's getting bored and might want to come back. You know, he's only going to play with Brady. Right.
And he will never go back to New England.
That's not a far-fetched, crazy idea. It's really not.
It's really not.
That's
I have one list for you though.
Okay.
New England.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Just trying to throw my ideas out.
No, that's a good one. It makes sense. I mean, look, Mac Jones is not the answer. They clearly don't have the quarterback of the future on their roster.
You got a pretty good defense.
They still don't have any skill position players that I'm particularly excited about if I'm Brady.
That would have to be addressed.
But that's not a bad it's not a bad option. All right, so let's rank these. I think you got a couple of fun ones.
Yeah. I'm liking the Baltimore one the more you do.
I am too, really, honestly.
We only have one wide receiver. Hey, guess what? With those 2 tight ends, you only need 2. Get one more.
That's right. We'll bring in Gronk, and you got Gronk and Andrews. Like, yeah, good luck defenses.
Oh, man.
And Brady throwing them the ball. They got a good O-line. Yeah, like that's
and a running game. Brady won't have to do as much heavy lifting if you did that.
No, that's right.
But put a couple of threats outside, and he still could.
Right. No,
that would be dangerous.
That would be really dangerous. You have the defense with Smith that they added in the offseason, they traded for and re-signed to a big contract. That would be a good team. You know what? I'm gonna put that as my number 1. I mean, the more I think about that.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
That would be great because it would be a package deal. Gronk is going to come out of retirement.
Oh, yeah.
You just can see it.
Not until after training camp.
Oh, yeah. No, maybe after the first few weeks.
Gronk ain't doing training camp.
No. He's done with that stuff. So that's going to be number 1. That means Miami's number 2 on my list. That's probably the most sensible in terms of like plug and play. There's really nothing else to do.
Yes. with the offensive weapons.
Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't want to see him in our division again.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that unfortunate?
Of course, I don't want to see Rodgers there either. And I know the Jets have a target point at Green Bay.
If there was ever a time for collusion, this is it. I'm the owner of the Bills. After the Dolphins signed Brady, I'm calling up the owner and giving him something that he wants, whatever, dollars, campaign contributions, whatever, for the right to trade for Brady and just bench him behind Allen.
Oh, God.
Time for some collusion.
Oh, my God, that would be hilarious.
Time for some collusion. Modern day Babe Ruth purchase. Except we're just stashing him. We just got him so he doesn't beat us. Let's see. So Dolphins would be number 2. Number 3 for me, probably the Jets. They desperately need a quarterback. Number 4. I like your Tennessee option. I think they would need to bring in a receiver too. But
they would.
But
they would. But again, he won't have to do as much heavy lifting.
Right. You got Henry there for that.
Oh man, if Gronk goes there too.
You talk about a team that would hurt to play. You have to
I think he'd like the party atmosphere too.
I mean, talk about a team that would be painful to play. You'd have to tackle Gronk and Henry.
Oh, I know.
Oh, ouch.
They both have no regard for their well-being.
Oh,
So
ouch. No. I don't want no part of that. No part of that whatsoever. All right, so that's number 4.
4.
And
yeah.
And number 5. I say Seattle. I think he makes them a lot better.
A double-digit win team.
Yep, I think so. 11, maybe 12 if everything goes right.
They have weapons. They have receivers.
They do. They have a decent defense. Yeah, I would go. So that would be my list. Number 1, Baltimore. Number 2, Miami. Number 3, the Jets. Number 4, the Titans. And number 5, the Seahawks. For Tom Brady destinations. So there we have it.
Very interesting.
And Toby thinks it's a good list too. So
see,
we're good.
That was good. That was one of your better lists, actually.
Yeah, that was a good. That was a good one.
I knew you were dreading that, but I had to get it out there.
Yeah, but my first choice among all choices is the retirement home. I still think he could get a great deal and on top of the world.
I don't know. I think he'll retire to the mansion in Miami.
Yeah, that's fine too. Whichever.
So why not play there a few more years before you retire?
No, go away.
Oh man, I don't want to see him with those weapons.
I don't either. I really don't.
I mean, he's still a quality quarterback.
Oh yeah, he is.
And I don't want to see him in Buffalo's division. They learned this week that they weren't playing some third stringer or Mac Jones. They were playing a real quarterback. And you saw the result. I don't need that twice a year anymore. I'm too old.
Understood.
I would wish he was.
Yeah.
But
not there yet.
I know.
All right. Well, there we have it. All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We got some basketball to get to, a big time comeback for the Lakers, and an emerging force with LA that they want to talk about. That's next. We got hockey news as well. Of course, news you can use. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number, 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
So big comeback by the Lakers the other day. Absolutely amazing. Look, this is actually, I'm beginning to think this team has a little juice. I'm really starting to feel that this is a team that if they can manage to get into the playoffs, are actually capable of maybe winning a series or two. Like, I'm really starting, I have to say, Rich, I'm really starting to believe in these Lakers a little bit. They need to make a move, I still believe. They also need to get Davis healthy, but he's coming back maybe later this week. But this comeback against the Blazers was really impressive to me. And one thing that has really begun to become apparent, Thomas Bryant is the latest name on the LeBron list of nobody's turned somebody's. This guy's been playing great in the last month and a half. He was a beast, maybe the best game of his career yesterday. 31 points, 14 rebounds, 4 of 5 from 3, 12 of 15 from the floor. Was awesome. Look, Westbrook had a bad game. He didn't play much in the fourth quarter. And Schroeder has resurrected his career. But Thomas Bryant is the latest creation of LeBron James, turning a journeyman nobody into now a very viable and dangerous player on a nightly basis. It's incredible to watch.
Is this going to be another guy LeBron gets paid?
That's what it looks like.
Man.
I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
He was great yesterday. He really was. This ties the largest comeback of his career.
Wow.
As far as a halftime comeback.
Yeah, they were down what, 30?
25.
Yeah. Whew. Just unbelievable. I mean,
he's only 224 points shy of Kareem. So this happens in like 8 games, maybe at the most.
Probably. I did the math before yesterday's game. Going into yesterday, they had 13 games before the All-Star break, and LeBron needed to average a hair over 20 a game during those 13 games.
He's going to get it before.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's averaging 30, so he's probably going to get it, like you said, in about 8 games at this pace. So because the news got out that the NBA is planning to use the All-Star game and the All-Star weekend to honor LeBron for passing the record, which is understandable. There were some people in the social circles that were complaining that, well, you should wait till he breaks the record. I was like, well, like, okay, if he doesn't break the record, like let's say he gets hurt, they probably will pivot and do something else. I don't think they'll do this before he does break the record, but it's not stupid to be planning for it because newsflash, unless he gets hurt, he's breaking this record before the All-Star break. It's going to happen.
Not only that, these things do take time. The preparation for these does take time.
It takes time.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Of course you get ready now.
Right. Whoever you're going to have speak and the singers and the video tributes and all that stuff, it doesn't, like you said, that takes time to prepare.
Right.
And a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a small undertaking, but
see, and these are the things people don't think of when they talk about this. Well, you shouldn't be planning it. You should wait till it happens. You don't plan something for something happening after it happens.
Right. Yeah. You don't plan for your wife's birthday or your anniversary a month after the birthday or anniversary. You plan for it in the months ahead. You know it's coming. Whether this comes.
Well, you can, but man, do you really want to do that?
No, that's bad news.
Yeah, you don't want that wrath. It's not worth it.
Definitely not. But yeah, no, Thomas Bryant has been playing really well for quite a while now.
Oh yeah,
and
he has picked up his game.
He has, and
in a small way, Patrick Beverly had a part in this game.
Hey, Bev's making a cameo. I'm down with it.
He made a couple of great defensive plays.
Yes, he did.
In the second half, and he got under Lillard's skin. It didn't bother him, but it did in a way. Those 2 second half steals, though, were key to that run and the comeback.
They were. And I'll say something else. I've said this a couple of times. As much as he's not one of my favorite players in the league, Dennis Schroeder is really important to this team because he's one of a handful of guys that can actually create his own offense.
Yeah. In fact, the lob to LeBron was so much fun.
Oh yeah, that was another great play. Yeah, I mean, LeBron in this game, what did he have? 37 points, shot almost 60% from the field. I mean, really, I saw a graphic, I think it was 2 days ago, of LeBron's last MVP season, his slash line for his last MVP season, and his slash line for this year. They're indiscernible from one another. They're basically exactly the same.
I know. Well, he's a cyborg, so that's
that's what it is.
When you're programmed, you can do that.
Take me to your leader. Yeah.
And again, you're playing Thomas Bryant, and he has some ability. I mean, you don't get 31 and 14 by being a bum, but you think they could get the ball. And this is Portland's issue. You think they can get the ball to Nurkic for more than 3 shots?
They really should. They really should.
And he's effective.
He's good, right? No, he is good. It is stunning to me their inability to do anything but play through those 2 guards. That's all they can do.
I know. And you got a guy who averages 15 and 10. And I don't know how, but he does.
It's
but it's crazy. But Bryant, 31 and 14. That's a nice night for anyone.
That's a great night.
Yep. It really is. He's averaging about 13 and 7 a game.
Yeah, I mean, look at that's
and
what I'm
he
saying.
Wasn't getting these minutes earlier on, although lately he has. He's having his best career year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, second to in 1920 in Washington. In 2021, he averaged 13-2 and 14-3.
Yep.
So it's not like it's a revelation. It's not like no one knew this guy could play. But what a great situation for him.
You know, it's really nice to watch. And what I'm curious about, when Davis comes back, how do you use these 2 together? Because you don't want to lose this production. You want to add Davis's production to what Bryant is doing.
Well, no, this is going to be how do I put this without sounding like a jerk? This is going to be the point, and I know it's a lot to say, and everybody will think I'm nuts, which I don't care. Davis needs to adapt to this. I'm not pushing 31-14 and a guy who plays every night away from a guy who'll do the same thing, but I never know if he's going to be there if he breaks a fingernail.
Right.
He's going to have to adapt to playing with Bryant because I can't count on him.
Right. We know Bryant's going to play every night.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's not just Bryant. I mean, Schroeder has gotten used to having more touches. You know, we're used to seeing more offense out of what's his name now? Troy Brown. When Walker gets back, he was doing a lot more heavy lifting after Davis got hurt. Like what I want to see, what you need to see, from the Lakers is you need to see them add Davis to these pieces they've figured out how to get more out of when he comes back.
Yes.
Not have
And they
them
have to add
receive.
Walker and Reeves as well.
Right. Because
I'm not sure if they have to make a move at this point either.
I
think that's a pretty loaded offense.
I was just going to say that, Rich. If you add Davis to this and those guys don't recede to their previous production level, you might not need to make a move. I still would like to get another reliable shooter. You know who I would call up, honestly?
I think Lonnie Walker can be that guy.
Well,
and we know Reeves can.
Oh, they both can. I'm saying add one more.
I don't think you even have to. I really don't. That's a 9-man rotation when everyone's healthy. And a good one.
I'm making one specific phone call. There's one guy who I think is, well, there's two. There's two calls I'm making. They're both fishes. They're both fishes out of water in their current respective areas, and they're both big forwards that I would like to see. Either Joe Harris with the Nets or Duncan Robinson with the Heat. I'm calling up both teams. Both teams clearly don't use either of them.
If I call anybody, I'm calling Robinson. I want a guy 6'11" over a guy 6'4".
Yeah.
You got a lot of guys in that mid-range size with Reeves.
That's true. Yeah.
And Walker and even Brown, for that matter, who's just a little bigger.
But
I
don't
have a lot of 6'11s.
But I also think I could steal either one of them. I think right now with how they're utilized by their respective franchises, I feel like I could get those guys for a couple of second-round picks and like a back of the roster.
No, you give up a first pick to get with Robinson to make the salaries, with either to make the salaries match.
Right. Well, no, I was saying you throw in a player too. But I guess that would be the other way to do it. Yeah, because the first round picks have their financial values. Right.
Right.
But
and what player you're going to give up that makes that money match?
I'll tell you, at least with Miami, because he's a guy that Riley would love, even though he's past his prime. That's Beverly. Riley has a soft spot for guys like that. We all know that.
Yeah, but Beverly is the same price as none. It's $5 million. You got to make up another, which is why you got to throw in the first.
I think there's
just to make the money work.
Yeah, I think you could probably do it with other ways, but yeah, I mean, but I would trade a first for either of those guys. I would.
Oh yeah,
like without a doubt. So, but
they're looking. It's amazing this turnaround. They're one game out of the playoff spot.
Yep.
Where a month ago, if I'd have said, "Oh, they're going to make the playoff spot at least," you'd have looked at me like, "No."
They were buried.
No.
Yep. No, look, I mean, that's what I was saying. I think this team is dangerous. Like, I think if you add Davis to this group and they find a way to use them all to their abilities concurrently, I think this team is really good. And here's another question. What if the Lakers finish the year with 45 wins? And come back from the dead like that, and they're not just in the play-in, but they're actually like in the playoffs. Does LeBron get some MVP votes? He really should.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, like,
but will he is the question.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I mean, if you come to the end of the year and the Lakers are, let's say they win 45 games, okay? That would put them probably roughly somewhere in the 6th hole in the West, somewhere around there, 6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Yep. So, and that means they're in the playoffs versus the play-in. If they
7, they're a play-in.
7 is the last play-in, right? 7, 8, 9, and 10. So if they're in 6, they're in. So
if they're in 6, they're in. I don't care if they're in 10. They're scary as hell.
Oh, they are. I'm just saying from an MVP voting standpoint, if LeBron takes this team from one of the worst in the West to 6th, because right now they're only 2 games out of 6th. The Clippers are holding that position right now, and the Lakers are only 2 games behind them.
And they're playing each other in a couple days.
They are. So. I mean, realistically, they're only 4 out of 4th. I mean, that's the thing about the West. It's pretty bunched up.
It's jumbled up.
Yep. So,
although Phoenix with Chris Paul back is always trouble.
They're looking a little bit better. They won yesterday.
Yeah, the Warriors are still the Warriors. That's all they got to do is get there.
Yeah.
The Lakers can easily fit into that bunch.
Yep. I agree.
Because no one outside of the top teams are impressing me that much. And I have my concerns about Memphis.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's their free throw shooting. We talk about this every so often. I mean, this is a team that it's hard to envision them winning close games against other good teams in the playoffs because of that.
In the
one issue.
playoffs, yes. And you saw what happened in that Lakers game. They had that lead the whole game.
The whole game.
Thursday night.
Yep.
What happened at the end?
They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. That's what happened.
Foul him.
Yep.
Foul him.
Yep.
You're gonna let Morant drive in. You're gonna knock him down.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Knock him down because the chances are he won't knock both of them.
Right. And he's a reasonably good free throw shooter anyway. He's not terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's look, I think the Lakers have a real shot. A couple other games.
I do too.
Yeah. I mean, they're not a bad team right now. They still have a bad record, but they're on their way.
Okay, now
yeah.
Can we examine the opposite of that just for a minute?
Sure.
What is Portland's deal?
I think they have 3 fundamental problems. One, you already touched on. Their lack of any type of offensive creativity with anything other than those guards from their coaching staff is jarring to watch. That's one. Number 2 is I think they lack any type of defensive versatility on that roster. They can't switch anything because they don't have the perimeter wing athletes to do it. Because both their
the funny thing is, I thought Josh Hart could do that, but
yeah,
I don't think there's someone else that'll do it with him.
Well, that's what I mean. He might be like a man on his own because I mean Nurkic is good, but he's not really great in space switching. Lillard and Simons can't switch onto bigger guys, so that's problem 2. And problem 3, and probably the biggest of the 3 to me, I don't think there's a more top-heavy roster in the NBA than Portland. And when I say top-heavy, I mean just the top 2 guys. I mean, this team gets 0 from their bench. They get, 24 points a game from their bench? Like, the average in the NBA is about 10 points higher than that. This team
it's
is
the worst
awful.
bench in the league.
I mean, they have
you get those
depth.
2, and Grant and Nurkic can score when they get the ball.
But they don't get the ball. That's why
they don't get the ball.
These 2 problems feed into each other, right? Because you don't have the depth. Like, organically, your roster doesn't have it. But then you make that problem, you exacerbate it by not using the couple of other pieces behind your top 2 guys that you do have. You don't get them the ball enough. So you exacerbate the lack of depth. And then they just can't switch. This is a poorly constructed roster. I actually think it's relatively impressive. They've been as even mediocre as they have been. This is a bad team. I think this team is brutal to watch.
It actually shows to the greatness of Lillard too.
It does. I mean, he's keeping them relevant. But like they're a rough watch. They really are. And this is the problem. You know, Lillard uses it as a badge of honor and sometimes maybe a slight passive aggressive diss towards some of his contemporary stars. This idea of loyalty, but this is why blind loyalty as a player is a dangerous road because Portland's taking you for granted. They have no incentive to build a roster around you. Why would they?
Right. And that's a shame.
They sell the tickets because of you. They're just good enough that they're, not completely irrelevant. And they're making a ton of money hand over fist because they don't have to reinvest it as heavily in the team because, well, you're not going to go anywhere. So you're making it easy for them to kind of take the easy way out. You got to put pressure on these teams. Look, everyone wants to bash guys like Durant and LeBron and everyone for doing that, and exalt Steph Curry for not. Well, Steph Curry hasn't had to do that because that team just organically wants to. The brain trust of that team wants it as much as the players. That's not normal. Most of the time, the brain trust is content to just be okay, not embarrassing, and as long as we're selling tickets and getting good TV ratings, we're okay. We make the playoffs, we get our playoff share. It's the players that have to push those organizations to dare to be great, so to speak, in most cases. So I don't blame guys like Durant and LeBron for doing that. Now, I think Durant made an awful decision going to Golden State, but his decision to go to Brooklyn, I had no problem with. I didn't even have a problem with him leaving OKC. It's who he went to, and even more so when he did it. I mean,
the circumstances.
You just got done choking a 3-1 lead against that team. That's a bad
right.
That's it's just a bad look. But like, honestly, the idea behind it, I don't have a problem with at all. Like, you have a short window, and when you're a guy like that, people are going to talk about you for the rest of time in the context of what you accomplished in this window. I'm not waiting around for some guy in a suit to decide he wants to go all in. No. I'm putting pressure on that person. And Lillard, his loyalty, and it's admirable in some romantic way, but in a functional way, his loyalty is probably his biggest weakness in terms of being on a more competitive team.
Agreed completely. Can we stay in LA but go to the other locker room?
Let's do it. Good game for the Clippers.
Very good game for the Clippers. And Luka got help. He got help. Hardaway had 22. Dinwiddie had 21. It's your problem when those guys are in the starting lineup, though, because Kleber and Wood are out. Your bench had 9 points.
Yeah. Yep.
The Clippers bench had 40. And that's on top of Kawhi's 30, George's 21.
Yep. No, I mean, look.
I mean, as frustrating as the Clippers are, and they are, I mean, and no John Wall, it absolutely hurts, but it's another bench guy. Their bench did fine. But Dallas, I'm out of words.
Yeah, they are probably, them and Minnesota are the two most disappointing teams this year by expectation coming into the year. I mean, they really truly are. I don't think it's even close. It's those two, and I don't even know if there's another team that's truly disappointing me right now. Like, those two teams really are disappointing. They truly are.
Yes.
And it's hard to watch. It really is hard to watch.
It's frustrating.
It is.
I mean, as happy as I was that the Clippers actually played a game.
Yeah, they played very well.
That's just, I don't know.
No, the Clippers played very well. And you talk about frustrating. I mean, that's an organization. I read a statistic since they both got there in 2019. The combination of Leonard and George have played, I think it was 31% of the games possible together.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's just, it's just horrible.
But having played some games together lately, they're doing a little better.
Right.
But who knows how many it's going to be.
Yeah, before the next hangnail happens.
Yeah.
It's rough. But no, good win for them. Knicks had a tough loss to Toronto. They haven't been playing great lately, although Randall played very well in that loss.
He did. The Nets came back on Golden State. That was their first home loss when they had a halftime lead for the Warriors. It was a very, very good effort.
Yeah, Kyrie had a huge game.
Oh, he was all over. He stamped this game.
Yep.
He stamped and postmarked it. That was a great performance.
That's right. I'm sure he used the Flat Earth logo for his posting, right? For his postage.
Oh, why not? He hasn't done that in years. That's old. I really don't care.
I think it's funny. So
it was 3 years ago, but
it's a timeless one. I love it. But yeah,
I don't know. I think it's just insane, but okay.
He had such a good game.
Yeah, he's capable of this.
Well, yeah. I mean, and then they had one other guy had a big game too. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was like a dynamic duo. It was Irving.
Oh, the center. The young center had an amazing game. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
Claxton.
Nicholas Claxton. That's it. Yep.
big game.
Yeah.
I think he had 25, 24, 15.
Yep. Yeah,
You know, Simmons didn't score a lot, but had 11 assists. Harrison O'Neal combined for 30. It's just a very nice win against a Warriors team that for some reason feels that they should bench Kevon Looney.
Yeah, that seems to be their approach right now.
And he came off the bench in 19 minutes and had 14 and 10.
Yep.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, to me, it's so clear that Jordan Poole needs to be the sixth man. I mean, look, he played 30% more minutes than Looney, and he had a total of 3 more points on 4 more shots. Like,
right.
I'm sorry, Looney's a better fit in that starting lineup. That starting lineup needs to be Green, Looney, Thompson, Curry, and Wiggins. Now, Wiggins played awful in this game. Wiggins had probably his worst game in a couple of years. He was 2 of 9 with 4 points in 27 minutes. Did nothing else. Like, the guy was, it was a terrible
he's
game.
Just back, too, so we'll give that a few.
But
a few. Not
that was
not a month, but yeah, hopefully he'll round back into shape.
Ben Simmons had 11 assists in this game for the Nets.
Yes.
So I guess that's what you want from him, a steal on the block.
And basically, I think that's better for Kyrie as well.
Oh, yeah.
Let him do that heavy lifting. I'm going to score because there's no one in the league that can stop me one-on-one.
Oh, no. I mean, shit, you could barely stop him 2-on-1.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's take our last break. We'll come back and we'll finish it up with hockey and news you can use. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All righty, we're back. And let's do the hockey real quick, then we'll hit news you can use.
You got it. One game last night that was, or yesterday afternoon, actually, an early afternoon game. The New Jersey Devils beat Pittsburgh 2-1 in overtime. Dougie Hamilton scored the winning goal. There are 3 games tonight involving New York teams. It's the other 3. Florida is in town to take on the Rangers at the Garden. The Islanders travel to Toronto to play the Loafs. And Buffalo starts a 4-game road trip in Dallas against the Stars. Is there not a Dallas team that has a star in one of their logos? Very curious about that.
That's an interesting
One
point.
I know it's one quick hockey note. Rick Tocchet was hired in Vancouver to be their head coach. A PR nightmare. Bruce Boudreau's a lifer. He's coached over 1,000 games, has over 600 wins. They did it out in the world. They did it online. Tocchet didn't help any by doing it on TNT. Even Vancouver fans think that Boudreau deserved better. And it was just an awful look.
There you have it.
Okay, now that that's out there, I just had to get that off my chest.
All right. Well, what do we got for news you can use today?
News you can use. Jamar Chase.
Yes.
Hopping on after a humiliating loss. Says that Joe Burrow is on a different level from Josh Allen. Slow down.
I totally disagree with that.
Slow down.
Please.
Okay.
Joe Burrow has a perfect situation with a perfect roster, and I could have played quarterback and won that game with the way Mixon was running. Like, let's chill.
Hell of a quarterback. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he's good, but I put him in the same category as like Matt Stafford and people of that level. Like I don't put him with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I just don't.
No, and the statement was stupid, but I had to get it out.
That's a bad one. Yeah, that is
bad. George Kittle gave the touchdown ball when he scored to Jerry Rice.
I saw that. That was
how cool is that?
That was awesome. George Kittle is the most entertaining, charismatic football player in the NFL right now. He is so much fun.
He really is. And oh man, that would be like one of those ideal guests.
He'd be awesome. He's huge too. I saw him do a post-game interview. It was whoever the reporter was, and I think it was Aaron Andrews, and it was also him and Brock Purdy. And he is just so massive, like in the shoulders and upper torso. He's built like a rhino, man. He's a beast. You gotta tackle that guy? Yeah, no thanks.
But he's a dream interview. My God, he's personality plus, isn't he?
Oh, he's the best. And he's got the look for it too. Got the wavy blonde hair and the big smile. Oh, it's just central casting.
Oh, he's always smiling.
You love it. You absolutely
always
love it.
Smiling. What a teammate.
Oh, the best. Love him. Love him to death. He's awesome. There we
go. Eagles coach Nick Sirianni said that Jalen Hurts is their Michael Jordan. Says there's no other way to put it. You could tell the difference when he's in and when he's not. He says, and when he came back, it was like a savior coming to the locker room. And LeBron James doubled down on that on social. And he called out Jalen Hurts haters. Said, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, let's slow down on the Jordan comparisons. I mean,
okay.
I'm not the biggest Jordan guy in the world, but let's just chill. This guy's like won one playoff game now? Like, can we like back this up just, I don't know, a few like years, maybe 10 years before we have Jordan comparisons? Like, let him win a few championships first. Yeah, like, okay, chill. What is with it? These guys, like, Burrow's better than Allen and Jalen Hurts is Jordan. Like, no, stop. Oh my goodness.
And I didn't say that Burrow wanted to sound like I'm slagging Joe Burrow, because I'm not.
No, of course not. But like, let's chill. Let's just chill. Okay. We got time for maybe two more.
Okay, two more. Chet Holmgren is immersing himself in film study during his recovery. Says he wants to be better next year without having played.
I like it. You like to hear that if
I
you're
do
okay.
too.
See,
I do too.
I was disappointed. We were talking about disappointments earlier in the context of teams, but I was disappointed that I didn't get to watch him this year because I thought he was the perfect puzzle piece, the perfect fit for that roster. Now, wouldn't it be wild? Wouldn't it be wild if they ended up with the pick the first pick in this year's draft and paired him and Wembayana, you talk about size on the court. You'd be like, what the hell's going on here?
They're almost 500. I think they have no shot.
But they got everyone else's picks, though. Don't they? Don't they have?
Yeah, but they don't have San Antonios. They don't have Detroits.
Right.
They don't have a lot of the picks that are going to fall into the top 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Got time for one more?
Let's do it.
Shannon Sharp.
God.
Sparked an altercation with the Grizzlies with Morant's father after heckling Dylan Brooks. Sharp goes into the locker room area at halftime as they're leaving the court. And he's heckling Dylan Brooks. You suck. You're no good. You're too small to guard LeBron. And Dylan Brooks looked at him and said 2 words that weren't happy birthday. And Shannon Sharp, being the adult in this situation in some form, said the same 2 words back.
Oh, brilliant.
And Steven Adams suddenly came out and went at Sharp, and security jumped in right away.
To protect Sharp from getting mauled by the Australian lion?
Yes.
I was going to...
Sharp, dude, you're in your 50s, man. Grow up. I know you're a big Laker fan. But him and Morant's father had to be separated by security.
I don't understand why anyone picks a fight with the Grizzlies knowing Steven Adams is there. Like, that alone should make me not fight the Grizzlies. Like, no, I don't want any part of that guy.
So, and here's Sharp's quote to Dave McMenamin. Just direct quote. They didn't want this smoke, Dave. They do all that talking and jockeying, and I ain't about that jockeying. It started with Dylan Brooks. I said he was too small to guard LeBron. He said, blank me. I said, well, blank you back. He started to come at me, and I said, you don't want these problems. And then Ja came out of nowhere talking. He certainly didn't want these problems. Then the dad came out, and he didn't obviously want no problems. But I wanted anything they had. Don't let those fools fool you now. Dude, I want to see you and Steven Adams. I really do.
Yeah,
You're 54 years old.
Notice he didn't mention Steven Adams when he was name dropping everybody.
Yes.
Because you didn't want them problems, Sharp. And that's the problem. You gotta fight the family. You gotta fight the mama bear. And mama bear ain't gonna play.
You're 54 years old. Stop. Just stop.
Picking on the Cubs.
It's ridiculous.
Picking on the Cubs and the senior citizens. Then Mama Bear comes out and all of a sudden you got nothing to say. Yeah, okay. Sure. Tough guy.
It is utterly ridiculous. He is an embarrassment.
Oh, he is. He always has been.
You're a Lakers fan. I get it. I like it. I like when guys in the media are fans. I have no problem with it.
Of course not.
But man, stop.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you charge the court. Doesn't mean you do any of that stuff.
Agreed. Totally agree. All right. Well, that does it for us. We will be back tomorrow. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. The Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.